I'm the new proud owner of two of Candace's trees.
Hey, wait a minute. These were in Dave's Bonsai's backyard.
Not anymore.
What's going on
Not
here?
anymore. I'm loving this. I am just loving this. And Candace, thank you. Dave, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll take good care of them. My jacaranda forest that I just pruned up, and I'm going to premiere. I haven't wanted to tell you about this guy yet, but I'm so upset. I had done a ground layer. I probably should have waited another year before I separated it. It hasn't reacted well, as you can see.
But there's life to it still.
There's a little bit of life, but it's waning, and that was one of my favorite trees.
Oh, man. It's still tough to have those losses.
I put this little juniper next to this one to show you what you can do with a juniper. You can do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, just your typical nursery find Japanese garden juniper, Procumbens nana. Yep. There it is.
My little wild grape vineyard with the miniature daisies. None of them are in bloom right now.
It's one thing I appreciate of Steve's work is attention to detail, and his penjings are so phenomenally fun.
I should have cut these all down, but I just couldn't bear
Oh yeah,
getting rid of the grapes.
that is phenomenal.
It's really cool, and when the leaves first come in, they're just so tiny and beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very good, very good.
We're going to be pruning this one at some point soon.
Okay.
This Satsuki azalea, which is right next to my lantanas, which are in bloom. I love these flowers.
Yeah, they are in bloom. Nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Lantana
beautiful.
does make good bonsai. People in my club say,
See differently?
Lantana.
Lantana? What?
that's a flower. It's
Yeah.
an annual.
That's
This is my
fantastic.
Hinoki cypress.
Yeah, got all
Which
your...
has a nice base, but and I got a lot of criticisms for that.
Buried under rocks right now? Let's go look at that thing. Oh, yeah.
But it's not wired into the pot, so I'm a little bit afraid of it.
Keeping the rocks on for good measure.
Yeah, probably.
No worry.
2 of these off.
First I learned that from Nigel Saunders.
Yep.
Nigel and his rocks.
I have some azalea cuttings, some
Yeah, they're looking healthy, those azaleas. Nice.
some other cuttings I just stuck in there, some ferns. This is I talked about pruning this, getting it to look like a forest, but these are just thuja that I grew from seed from my parents' house.
Uh-huh.
This
Very nice.
I did a show on this one, brought it from the nursery and pruned it back to show you can get a bonsai
Yeah,
for very cheap.
very cheap. You don't have to spend a ton. Yep, we just were talking about that off camera.
My boxwood.
The one that looks
That looks just
suspiciously
yours.
like one that Dave has in his collection. What's going on here with this bonsai? Look at that. I'll have to do a side-by-side. Let's see if I put this on this side. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it. And you got that from just a box store too, didn't you?
Yeah, got that from Costco.
Boxwood from Costco. Oh, and this, you know, every trip I make or every place I go to, there's one that I am so excited to see. And here it is, y'all. We are in New York City, Central Park. And I got some sun and shade to work with, but look at that.
And people should go back into my archives and see how I did this. It took me 10 episodes to get all those bricks laid.
Every brick laid one at a time.
And this is becoming root over rock. It is sending roots this way. I did check on it.
Nice. And that's the most moss you got. You said you've had some problem with moss on this one this year. Any thoughts as to why?
I don't know. I mean, all I did was put the moss preparation on top of the muck.
Yeah.
And it worked the first time, but this year it didn't. I took off the old stuff and put new, and it's just not coming up. Maybe it's just the heat. When this was in the greenhouse, this would get so dry and it would just like curl up in the corners.
And this view right now with the sun behind it, oh my gosh, it looks like we're in Central Park. I mean, that's what I love about this image. Any way you look at this thing, it's just fantastic.
I've got to get something for these planters.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking...
What did you have in there?
I had weeds. I picked flowering weeds up.
And what do you hope to put in there?
I'm thinking if I could hedge some azaleas really low down, something like this.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why I'm growing azaleas.
Growing some azaleas for that. Yeah. You know, trial and error. We got to see what's going to work. Okay.
We're going to be talking about this Seiju elm. It's a beautiful tree. It has a lot of potential, but I'm not sure where to go with it. So we're going to collaborate on this one.
We'll collab. Can't wait to collab. All right, we'll figure some stuff out.
My Dawn Redwood Forest, we're going to have a discussion on locating where you can prune.
Yeah, when to prune, when not to prune, and why.
Right, now I've already pruned off the branches that I didn't think I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all the ones that when I pruned those, I couldn't touch these. They just weren't ready yet.
Yeah, all
So
that's left.
Thanks to Candace and thanks to Ryan Neal, I've picked up a little bit of knowledge on Dawn Redwoods, when you can cut,
Yeah.
and I think we'll have some success this time.
Awesome.
Here's a nice little tree. This is a Thuja occidentalis primo.
Oh,
It's a
boy.
miniature arborvitae.
Those are the ones that when I touch them and I look at them up close, they look like what would be on a H2 or HO train set
Yeah.
that Tom would have in his basement. And you have that tree, and it's like, is that real or is that fake?
I know.
It's so
And
amazing.
This is a cutting from it,
Oh.
as is this. They've all taken nicely.
You've done a fair amount of cuttings, haven't you, Steve?
Yeah, I have. And
And a lot of luck, it seems like, over what I've watched.
yeah, but you haven't seen you haven't seen the things that didn't.
He hasn't shown the disasters. That's okay. That's all right.
Here's another a lantana
Oh, okay.
that is more of a horizontalis. So I took a cutting and I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
What was the episode for April Fools that Nigel called something a plastic, or it was a plastic tree?
It's a Pinus artificialis.
Pinus artificial. Oh, that made me chuckle hard.
Here's another grape that I just pruned yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I just broke something off. It was dead, probably.
Yeah.
My cherry trio,
Cherry trio.
right there. Still pretty okay in the pot.
Okay.
Some cuttings from my larches.
Oh yeah.
Because
There
I
you
got to get another tree.
I should have brought you a larch, huh? You don't grow larches very well here, you're saying, right? Here we go. Here we go.
These are doing well. They're in their second flush. I realized that I forgot to prune this branch, and I didn't prune that back enough.
Oh, they just sneak up on you.
This tree in the middle here,
Yeah, what's...
it had no new growth except on the apex. So I'm hoping I don't lose it. I'm hoping it does okay. But this is the
This is the roadway.
this is the roadway where I had to this year put in a drain
Yeah.
because it was
pool,
all gathering up
pooling
here.
water there for you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, look at this penching, everybody. Real to life. I mean, you look at this on a camera, and up close and personal, too. It's like, this is like a road. Anywhere
Oh, yeah.
on the way here.
Got
This
real guardrails.
real guardrails, yeah. That's fantastic.
And I had to drill some holes in here to let the water through.
Yeah. Oh,
And this
so I love that work.
These are my
And the river coming down.
and I look at these trees on other people's videos, and they can be spectacular.
Yeah.
And right now, the name is escaping me. These are
Bald cypresses.
bald cypress. Thank you very much.
And here's the key. Water, 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 right?
Yeah. and
People
that's-
are keeping this in water trays, right? They have these in trays of water in a lot of displays I've seen. So
This is what I do.
and
Flood the stream,
look at that.
and it soaks in. It's
Oh,
pretty nice, right?
That is very cool. Go splashing in the river, and there they are.
Yeah. I'm working on my tanuki. See how this white it got
Yeah.
white?
Yep. It's dry since this morning after you're watered, right? And
I
it's
had to secure it down with some wire here and here after I took the binding off of it.
Oh, okay.
It's still pulling away a little bit back here.
Yeah. Got that securing it on.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice. That's gonna be that's one of those trees where, gosh, a couple years down the road here, man, that's gonna be stunning on that.
Yeah, I finally pruned it up yesterday too. Took a few branches off. This is a little fine dangling, but it'll be okay. And from here down, I haven't worked on much.
And the rest of the bench. Tall, sprawling.
These are Japanese Katsura trees that are so beautiful in nature. And when the leaves drop and compost a little bit,
Yeah.
they smell like burning sugar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It
A
smells-
sweet tree. Look at
Yeah.
that. Oh, I love them. I love the light color of them as the sun is sitting on them. And
Well, I'll
sun's
take,
going
I'll
under a
take
cloud
you
right
by
now,
one
but-
in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
This is much lighter than
normal.
Yeah.
Future bonsai.
This I have labeled nursery swipe because I went to a nursery and just grabbed some seeds off of something that was growing. I don't know what it is, but it had beautiful flowers.
A nursery swipe. I like that. All right. So what are we going to do? We're going to wait? We're going to sweat? Drink some more water?
Drink some more water.
All right, we're at water break. We'll be back.
So these are my dawn redwoods. I was very lucky with germination on my dawn redwoods. So I put a bunch in the ground and we'll see. My wife says, no, let them grow as a forest. And I say, well, maybe I'll take some of them if they look pretty good. But look at this. The habit of, you know, and we don't have many dawn redwoods growing to look at
Yeah.
what they actually do, but sometimes they do this. And sometimes they do this. They tend to come out
Very
and then
horizontal.
be up
Yep.
at the ends.
Up at the end.
So what I'm looking for is buds to trim back to, not on this, but on
Right, on the tree and
on
the
the
pot,
potted.
yeah.
And I also have some ginkgos, which I also grew from seed. That'll look really nice here, I think.
Yeah. And they have such pretty fall color. My goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
That's such a beautiful. Now, something I can't do in Minnesota, and I'm not talking about the compost here, but you have maples in the ground that I would never be able to grow in Minnesota. So you got some tridents here. What's going on here?
I bought a trident online, and I air layered it the first year, right here.
Okay, yep, there it is.
And
Wow.
that air layer became the other tree on the other side. And these are beautiful. These leaves are just fantastic.
Yeah, they are. It's stunning.
I only put them in the ground last year,
That is phenomenal.
and they did okay.
And, you know, a compost.
And the compost. I have to say,
Brilliantly displayed, I might add.
I love composting, and I love the fact that I'm helping the world by composting and keeping things out of
The landfills.
Keeping things out of the landfill,
But
it's so putrid.
we were talking earlier, and yeah, I've had a compost too, and it's like we're getting muck and slop, and everybody else gets dirt. Something. So we're not putting enough dry material in there. Not enough dead leaves and grass clippings and that kind of stuff.
I've even put, you know, from the paper shredder in the house, I even put that in there to dry it out.
We just don't know if it's going to come to fruition.
This is a Rose of Sharon that my mother started, watch your step. And I defoliated it at our June club meeting.
Really?
And this is all new growth. Now what I've been doing lately is defoliating. I started defoliating it in July. Then that was too late. I only got like one bloom. Then I'm sorry, in June.
Yeah.
No, in July.
It was in July.
Yeah, and then I defoliated it early July, the year after, and I got 2 blooms. So this time I defoliated it in June, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some of these won't open, but the flowers are they're just fantastic. And this is a beautiful tree.
Yeah.
I do have 3 branches from one spot, but it doesn't seem to be swelling too
Not swelling
bad.
Too bad at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so
And you know, I've walked in my neighborhood and thought that very thing on a couple of trees that are full grown, and I've said like, hey, there's 3 branches and it's not swelled.
Right.
So there's hope.
there's hope.
First, let's talk about how bonsai entered your world. What got it all started? Just the bonsai portion of it.
Well, if you go way back, I was always into miniatures.
Okay.
And I have these like haunting images of things that happened in my childhood. Wandering through the woods of Connecticut, I came upon a foundation, a stone foundation in the woods, and I was like transfixed. And I couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
And I said, this was a house. look at that. There were windows in the foundation,
Yeah.
the cutout
Yeah.
with an arch. And I always said, ooh, I need to recreate that. And that's one of my dreams in doing a penjing, is to recreate that wood scene
With an old dilapidated foundation.
with a foundation that I make from, like, I don't know, little chips of bluestone or something, or
Yeah.
it had a granite lintel up on top, and I could probably make that out of a piece of granite tile. One of my haunting images was Central Park, and walking on the brick path in Central Park. And thanks to Candace, I got the opportunity to say, all right, I'm going to stop painting my kitchen for a few weeks and work on that. That's it. I kind of like draw these things out of my inner self. And that's kind of how I got started on bonsai. I mean, what could be better when trying to create a forest, than having a forest?
Yeah, having a forest to the palette that you saw or grew up with, whatever, saw in some way in your childhood, and to recreate that.
Yeah, and I'm glad my haunting images from my childhood aren't, horrible.
Yeah, that's not a horrible hunting image. When you are with your trees and working on a penjing or working on a tree,
I'm in the zone, like Nigel says.
Tell me about that.
In the zone. You're looking at them at the height that you would be if you were a little guy.
Yeah.
And that's really what I do. I try to become the little guy in my penjing and look up, and what do I want to see? I want to see this tree here and that tree there. So that's the zone I get into.
Yeah.
Nigel calls it the
the
bonsai,
bonsai zone, it kind of works.
And when he said that, I knew exactly what he was talking about, because
Of
I
course.
do that myself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you do too.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been several times I've just said off the cuff, just like, oh, I'm in the zone, and it goes right back to Nigel. And I don't even remember how I discovered Nigel, with my bonsai journey, other than, of course, I started looking online for stuff, and I must have done what a lot of people have done, is looked up a certain tree or something, and he was one of the ones that popped up because he's got over 200,000 subscribers. He comes up pretty quick if you search trees. And
of course, when I started watching him, he was the KW Bonsai Society guy.
He was.
He
wasn't
the Bonsai Zone, but I remember when he introduced the Bonsai Zone, and I thought that was fantastic.
Brilliant, yeah.
It just spoke to me.
So how many years have you done bonsai then? You started in what year? I mean, you've only 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago?
I started in earnest in probably 2019.
Okay.
But before that, I was, I'd see a little tree growing in the yard. I'd come dig it up, put it in a pot.
Yeah.
That's just what I did.
It's kind of always a part of you, whether you knew it or not. These little trees.
It's a great feeling to look at a little tree and think, I can make it look like an older tree, And some people do it beautifully.
Yeah.
And if I could just get to that point someday in my life.
Sure.
Thank you for helping me with my trees today.
Oh, absolutely.
This was great.
This was great. To collaborate on trees is very daunting, I think, in the beginning, because you're afraid of what experienced people are going to say about your tree.
Right.
But to sit and look at a tree, and I think we mentioned earlier in the other shows we shot today, it's all about perspective, and yours is different than mine, and we have different experiences. But if we can kind of spin a tree and look around, and I can see something that you missed, you can see something that I missed, and then we talked about on a couple episodes too, you got to step back.
Right.
You got to put the tool down and step back.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and in the YouTube world, this has happened so many times when I'm editing, I'm going like, oh, Dave, why didn't you take that branch off?
Exactly. I do the same thing.
We have to stop and pause, which is a great lesson for us all to hear over and over again. Right. We might have to think about that one for a little longer.
You don't want to turn off the camera. You just keep going.
Yeah, you just keep cranking away. And that's, we can't just keep cranking away on bonsai, or as we again affectionately say in our club, the Minnesota Bonsai Society, and the workshops, we can't love our trees to death.
Right.
We got to nurture them and give them some breaks, like we need breaks, right? We got to go to sleep every night and get some sleep, and we just got to stop.
I have loved a few trees to death. I'm sure you have too.
We all have. Let's talk about the YouTube world. I am here because of YouTube. If it weren't for YouTube, I would not be in your backyard. Yeah, and absolutely. Some of the people I've met on the way, and this community, and talking to your wife earlier too in some of our chat sessions and just relaxing at your place here, it's pretty palpable what an interesting and very cool and supportive network of people we associate with. So tell me what your initial thoughts when I say YouTube and bonsai. What
well,
is it?
I had a lot of time commuting on the Long Island Railroad and just flipping around looking for bonsai things, and I just happened to see Nigel, and I love the way he spoke. You know, he wasn't talking down to anybody. He said, this is what I do.
Yeah.
You might do it differently.
Yeah.
This is how I do it. And I agree with a lot of the ways that he does things.
Sure.
And I get results doing it that way.
Yeah.
So it's a great experience. And I agree, the bonsai community, even the viewers, you know, and the comments, and you know, they don't have to be YouTubers,
Yeah.
but they give such uplifting comments.
Yeah.
And it really, when I wake up in the morning and I think about what I want to do, I think about the people who are watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do I.
And what would they like to see? That's
Yeah.
why I do a lot of nursery stock and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I think that people can relate to that. You know, oh gee, I have a tree like that. Maybe I can bonsai it. You know?
Yeah. Some people are probably thinking I'm a little bit crazy. And you
No.
think, well, I mean, back 20, 30 years ago, people made fun of, you know, online dating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, how scary would that be? You're meeting this person online and they live across the country and you're going to go on a date, you know. And here I've developed relationships through comments and eventually texts and emails with a bunch of bonsai people across the country that, and I guess the simplest way for me to put it is this community of people, again, the support is a huge thing, but they kind of get you.
Yeah.
Or they kind of get the madness of what we do in this hobby, right? There just seems to be an underlying, we just all get it and we can kind of just talk about it a little bit
Yeah,
very easily.
Are they seeking out something to start out with? And if they like the person, like I liked Nigel and I kept watching him.
Yeah.
I like Candace. She was just great. She
Yeah.
was just great. The way she approached things, her scientific
Yeah.
approach to things, and
Yeah.
she knew what she was talking
Her
about.
in-depth knowledge of that, yeah. Yeah, it's been an amazing community, and I still have a few more people to meet on this road trip, but I'm just enamored that it's, you know, this worldwide audience that I've got some people. I got a person from Germany. I've watched his channel, and you know, I have to watch his in subtitles. But you know, he's like responding to my show too and saying, hey, and so I just think it's as much as technology gets a bad rap. As a teacher, I hear it all the time in cell phones and technology. This is one area where, again, there's a sense of community and connection that it's kind of hard to knock.
It isn't just for bonsai. I mean,
Right.
If I was doing some plumbing and I couldn't figure out something, so I figured out some keywords that would get me there, and I
Right.
found out how to do this particular thing. Everything is out there.
Everything is out there. Whatever you need, you can find your niche.
Yeah.
The coils on your garage door openers.
Yeah.
I've replaced 3 in the last 5 years. My dad's, 2 of mine, and I learned it on YouTube. And found someone that I could just look at. And if this didn't fit the bill, I'd go to another one, and you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah,
And then
sometimes,
if you comment,
sometimes my sister will call me up and ask me how to do something. I say, go to YouTube and type in this.
type in these words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any goals and aspirations for your YouTube channel? And what are you kind of striving to do? And if someone said, why are you making a bonsai channel? What would you tell them?
Well, I wouldn't tell them it's because it pays so well,
Like everything in bonsai, it does not.
but it's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
you know? So my aspirations and goals are just to get better, to have trees that I enjoy, that other
Yeah.
people enjoy.
Right, right.
It's very personal,
Yeah.
you know? I just enjoy doing it. I like seeing the results. I like meeting the people. This
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah. It is phenomenal.
And I haven't met many. I met Patricia O'Connor,
Yeah.
which was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm meeting you now, and there's just so many people I'd love to meet. Matt Brennan,
Yeah.
what a great guy.
Yeah. Keep growing.
Yeah, keep growing.
Yeah, there's several out there that I'm looking forward to meeting, and I was very sad that when I was over in Scotland, that's when Tony took a turn for the worse, and we
Yeah.
found that news out. I was in the ER with my kidney stuff, but then they had the extravaganza, and he had learned, and I got a text or an email that day from him saying that, yeah, it's back, and it was just, and I was over in his neck of the woods, kind of, sort of, and we were this close to having a chance to meet him. But 2 years ago with my son Toby, when we went to go see Nigel and Jay and the gang, a couple of the people over there, mainly Nigel and Jay, and it was just wonderful in every aspect of going to visit someone, do something you like, and in nature. He took us on a nature walk, and we looked at trees in his neck of the woods and what inspires him. And it's just real people just doing something that they love to do, and that just comes across in so many people's videos, which is why I'm here today. I think I told you this already, but I had to be in Steve's backyard because you're another one that's just so genuine on film, and you love the passion is there, and you're just
Well, thank
you love it.
Thank you for that.
And you can tell you love it.
I know I love it.
You don't need me to tell you.
I know I love it.
Yeah.
And just having this community, I keep coming back to those words, this community is fantastic. You know, I have a local club that I belong to,
Yeah.
but everybody has their little quirks,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely, they do.
and you learn from them
Yeah.
what you need to learn from them,
Yeah.
and you hope they don't criticize your work too badly, but that's how you learn.
That's how you learn. Absolutely. Yeah, I have this notion of being careful not to put down anybody who has, gobs of years experience from me, but the hobbyists within YouTube, we feel like we're on the same page,
Right.
just trying to learn from each other
Right.
and making some gentle comments along the way, most of them positive, and keep it up. And, some people might say, the Bald Yeti, when he'll look at my video, and I talked about this with you earlier too, hey Dave, have you thought about a front at 6 minutes and 17 seconds in? When you twisted it, and I go back to my video, and again, there's documentation.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that tree in its life on video, stored forever.
Right.
I don't take as many photographs anymore, but I take all this video. But to have someone reach out and go, oh, and again, from my angle when I was working on it like this, and he was watching like this, and I didn't watch it over a couple, 2-3 times myself to go,
He was right about the front.
yeah, maybe that is the front of the future. I just love that, right? And again, we have to have some thick skin in bonsai.
Yeah.
Again, it's a perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And what I told you today in a couple of trees, you jumped on. And a couple other ones, you might hesitate a little bit more. And we didn't do that. That's awesome, right? And that's the way it should be. And I should leave here, you should leave here. Or when I leave here, you should leave feeling like, oh, we collaborated. We agreed on a lot of things. We might have done things a little bit differently, and now we just keep moving on and hope our trees improve.
I'll send you pictures of whatever we did if it takes off good.
That's right. And if it's not, it's my fault. And if it turns out, it's my fault. Either way, I'll take credit. No, just kidding. It's fabulous.
It won't be your fault.
Yeah. Where do you see your bonsai going in the next 5 years? What's kind of, do you have some, I mean, you love the penjing, and it shows that road with the bumper things and the railings and that forest. And there's another one that when I see a picture of a car on there, I mean, in life, in person, those are awesome to see up front. So, but what is your passion, do you think, besides that, or what's the next penjing, or what's your goal 5 years from now?
Well, I don't want to say what the next penjing is, but I will, and it'll make me want to do it even more.
Yeah.
I want to make a tree-lined street. Like my son lives in Berkeley, and there are these beautiful old trees. You got a curb, and you got the little space for the trees, and the trees are pulling up the sidewalk in places. And
that's right.
That's what I would like to do as a next penjing.
Oh, awesome.
But it's going to take a while to figure out.
Yep.
It's got to have some civil engineering done so that the water doesn't collect. So I'm thinking, I was taking a walk about a year ago, and I picked up this stuff on the street, and I said, wow, I could turn that into a storm drain.
You're always thinking, I love it,
Yeah,
I love it.
but the scale is not quite right, so everything's going to have to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's something you'll
It's-
see in the future with me.
Thinking outside the box a little bit and being able to just be creative like that, that's fantastic. Because I don't think there should be a box in any art.
No, definitely not.
We
Definitely
mentioned
not.
earlier, you might think Picasso's the worst artist in the world, and look at what people think of Picasso. And so our trees, somebody's trees, if they're going to be in museums someday, it's like, yeah, I walk by those trees, and what I saw over at the National Museum, John Naka's forest of Chinese,
Awe-inspiring.
Chinese junipers. I mean, I moved to a different place. I mean, emotionally, it's hard to show on camera sometime, but then when the camera was off and I'm just sitting there.
And it's become someone else's tree now, and that's the person who's pruning it and putting their vision. Yeah, they try to keep the original
Artist vision alive.
vision, but somebody else is putting their spin on it.
Let's talk about that legacy thing. You and I talked off camera. Right now, your kids, my kids, they're not into bonsai really. I mean, Jake has an interest every once in a while. He's young, and who knows what will hook with him and later on pick it up in life. But 20, 25 years from now, when I'm giving trees away, what is next? Or even the Candace trees that I was able to bring here from Minnesota from her beginnings. She started
Thank
some
you
phenomenal
so much
trees.
for them.
Oh,
Candace, if you watch this, thank you so much for them.
They're in such great hands. And I can't wait to see the progression. But what I've learned with some of my interviews on this road trip, and even just being here with this exchange from Candace to me to you, I'm starting to like that part of bonsai and wonder where that's going to go in the future, because I told you off camera, I don't want to buy a $500 or a $2,000 tree, trim it one spring and go, look everyone, this is my tree that I did.
Right.
But at the same time, Candace started that. I kind of put my little spin on it for a brief moment in time.
I'm going to
And
study
now-
it for a while.
Yeah, and now so now the tree has a story.
Mm-hmm.
And so you or someone else will share, well, yeah, this started back in Wisconsin 25 years ago. And then this other guy who had this YouTube channel met Steve, my grandfather. I mean, something like that. And then what if your grandson had that in his collection in his backyard 25, 30 years from now and could tell that story?
Yeah.
And that's what we don't have a lot of in the West yet, but boy, is it coming around, because now the people I interviewed, yeah, the trees at Longwood Gardens, they just got a donation from the Kennett Square. Some families or a Kennett Square collection. Now it's been donated to Longwood. And if you want to go to an amazing garden, and oh my gosh, that was a phenomenal place, Longwood. And the trees there are on Florida to be held over while they do reconstruction, but then those trees will come back, and this Kennett collect, and all these stories. And someone there is going to be able to say, yeah, this family had this tree 100 years ago and did this, and then it was given to so-and-so, and boom, it's right here for us to enjoy when we walk through it.
I wish there was a place that I could donate trees to. You
Right.
know, when I mean, I'm 10 years older than you, so.
I might get one of your trees one day, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And I'll
Well-
have them for a few years before I...
And there is, without a doubt, an American style of
Yeah.
bonsai that
Sure.
you don't see with the Japanese style.
Yeah.
And you know, even the penjings, they're very stylized, and you know, the big rocks with the
Yeah.
trees growing out of them.
Yeah.
But you don't really see that in nature around here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I grew up looking at big oak trees that don't start branching out until you know 30 feet up.
Yeah.
So-
Or like the redwoods, 100
Yeah.
feet up, some of them. They don't have any branches anymore. Well, Ryan Neal talks about this. There's been studies now that over 85% of people on this planet's first memory often involves a tree. There's something about trees. And so if we can invoke some of that, oh my gosh, that's
Until
magical.
my cousin Philip was born, I was the only boy.
Mhm.
And we used to go to Connecticut every summer to like a family compound, and I'd be with my cousins and everything, and they're all girls.
Yeah.
And I needed to get away.
Yeah.
So I would climb trees and kind of watch from the top of the trees. I'd climb pine trees, and this is a funny story. Get pine tar all over myself. And my dad, with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, would take gasoline to clean the
wash
pine tar
the pine.
off my
Oh my
fingers.
gosh. Ooh, fire hazard? Not at all. Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of my fondest memories are climbing trees. And we had a cabin for a very short number of time before my parents split. And it was up in Lake Osakis in Alexandria, Minnesota. And we had this beautiful big old tree. It was probably an oak or maple, but you know, twice as wide as your biggest tree in the yard here, right? Just this big oak. And it was only about 20 feet off the shore.
Oh.
And it was just, and we had our fire pit down below. But I was up that tree so many times, and had some really big branches on you could just sit on, stand on, climb high. And I remember that tree. And I remember what we did with that, around that tree, and the campfires and the short time we had that cabin. And
That's a nice story.
it's awesome. So if I could recreate that tree with the lake behind the scene,
Oh.
you know,
Well,
fire
you've
pit
got
with
you've
rocks.
got a water. It's in your intro. I don't think I've really seen much, except it's in the intro. It's got like a
Oh, the fish tank.
fish tank.
The bonsai bonsai pot tank, fish tank thing. Yeah, that thing sprung a leak. There's another one of those projects that's like, well, how do I reconvene that one? How do I retry that one? And I should have just probably got a purchased small tank and built around it. I tried to build it from scratch, and the silicone and the leaks were just, but that was a fun project. I thoroughly loved that. And there was trees on a river with some fish actually in there.
I did have an
fun.
idea for a penjing like that, and I drew it out while I was commuting on the Long Island Railroad,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on the bumps and drawing things out. It's all you see is the surface of the water. You have like a, you know, a section where you could actually see in like a fish tank.
Yeah.
But all you would see on the is on the surface. But inside there'd be cameras and there'd be
You could actually
like an iPad or something on top so you could see what's going on under the water.
Under the water.
I couldn't figure out how
Oh my
to do
gosh, there's so many cool ideas. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I still want to, you inspired me with your tree, the forest we worked on today, the one that's over that rock and the roots are growing.
Oh,
because
it's gonna be beautiful.
It's going to be unbelievable. And if you go to the north shore of Minnesota, up in the Duluth area, you know, now about an extra half an hour or an hour, well, an hour or so from the new Bonsai Acres property, the north shore along Lake Superior, and big cliffs and big rock structures. And when you go on walks in there, now it's over time eroding and people on little day walks, but you go into those canopies of trees and a lot of cedars and a lot of probably, well, there's pine in there too, but the cedars are the one that just stand out to me. And some of these pines, where all the roots are you walk on a trail and there's roots everywhere.
Love
and you
that.
come up, and I have several pictures over the years, and so can I create one of the, and so the fish tank thing I made, if that could become maybe a deep gorge, and I have trees, and I have a trail that goes up both sides like it does on these trails, or just on one side, and it's all of these rocks like from the North Shore, and these root over rocks, and these roots that are literally on a flat rock and then grow up. And the roots are just digging down somewhere in the cracks and crevices. I have so many pictures that way.
So what I don't know is when I can expose those roots and not have them die
away. My assumption, as long as there's roots in the soil below to feed that root pattern, eventually you take the moss off and the muck or whatever you're using, those are going to solidify and then just slowly get thicker, just like a branch might, I believe. I just don't know how soon you can do it.
Yeah.
And you have roots that are digging into the soil now. So I think next year.
And that is a month and a half.
Yeah.
In a month and a half.
6 weeks of growth over there.
The roots are like 3-4 inches long.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, I love it.
Some great projects in the future. Well, this has been fantastic. I thank you so much for hosting me. And this has been an absolute pleasure. We got to work on several trees, and we're going to have a great meal again, a couple of great meals that have a glass of wine and wake up early and hit the ferry at 6 a.m. and continue now a little bit north, slightly east, and then back over towards home and see some other people.
I can't stop thinking about the legacy piece and you know, the succession plan for your trees.
Yeah.
They're not going to die. You're going to die.
I'm going to die.
You know?
That's right. And I had a chance to talk to one of the gentlemen over at the Phipps. Well, I got to have my tour back there. And the leader of the horticulture, I have so many names spinning in my head, so I'm thinking of his name right now. Ben. I forget his last name. He is just starting this project where these trees can maybe have some kind of there's going to be benchmarks and standards like in education where he's had all these places that have all of these this arboretum and that Chicago Botanical Garden and all these places that have some trees, some to a ton of trees, but like who's taking care of them? Does that person have bonsai background?
Right.
And if I send this tree to, say, my neck of the woods, Como Park, could I see someday a John Naka tree or forest? Maybe not the one at the National Museum, but maybe one of his trees that come on just like art on the wall.
Like rotating,
the Minneapolis Institute of Art is going to maybe have the Mona Lisa on the wall someday, right? On a rotating exhibit. Can we have, so he wants to try to spread all this information and get all this knowledge of who's taking care of these trees so these stories can continue to be told. And when you go to this place, you go to Longwood, you go to Como, you go to Phipps, you go to the Crone, you go to all these places that I've been to now, and hey, this tree started here, and yeah, will there be a Nigel tree in one of those collections one day? Will there be a Penjing from Steve's backyard?